my name is Nancy, and I'm Jack's mom, and I'm sorry mine isn't as long as everybody else's. I'm really nervous and I'm crying, so I'm really happy to be here. I'm so proud of Jack. When he was using, the signs were all there for a long time. The isolation, always running around, having a good job but never having any money. Jack talked to me a couple times and told me he was sorry and he knew he needed help, but was afraid of losing his job and worried about what would happen with his bills. And he always said he felt like he wouldn't fit in rehab. And then one horrible night, about a year and a half ago, the bottom fell out and he hit his rock bottom and he lost everything. A few days later, he entered Miramont Rehab, and within a few weeks, he was a group leader and was recommended to the MVP recovery program. Jack found his true self in recovery. He has formed friendships and a respect for himself and for others. This community is more than I could have ever hoped for my son. Grateful is a word that is used often, but I have a grateful heart for the work Jack has put in to get here, and for MVP and the community that supports him. I love you, Jack.
I'm Jack. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. My sobriety date is November 18, 2017. Like Danny said, I wasn't expecting to be quite this nervous, so bear with me. But they talk about the breaking the stigma. I see that stigma every day. Anytime you see an article about opioid use, anything like you read the comments on social media, it's all like, good, let them kill themselves off, thin the herd. They knew what they were getting themselves into. You see that attitude a lot. And what those people don't realize is, these people have families that are home, praying that these people will, get it together at some point, that they'll come home every night. Nobody wakes up one day and just says, like, I want to throw my whole life away. Nobody, they say, what you're just getting yourself into, but like, people don't just decide one day, like, I want to lose my kids, I want to end up in jail, I want to lose everything I ever had. And, that's what happens to a lot of us. And, for myself, I was given every opportunity to have a good life. I have a good family. I was raised right. I went to Catholic school education. I had a lot of friends growing up. But for me, I was just never comfortable in my own skin as a young age. I never had like an identity. And when I got to high school and I discovered drugs and alcohol, it did something for me at the time. That was my solution at the time to my problems with myself. And, I formed an identity, and drugs and alcohol were a big part of it. I ran with that party attitude, like mentality, and, when I was younger, like up and through my 20s, like things were going the way they should. I had a good job. It ended up being a career job for me for a lot of years. I had friends, but what I noticed was like over the years, people started growing up. They started getting houses and getting married and having kids, and I just kept finding myself in the same spot. My addictions were getting worse over time, and I always had this attitude like I'm still young, I have time to get it together, and with the blink of an eye, man, 20 years passed, and I found myself 35 years old. I was staying in my mom's house, and the worst night of my life happened. I was a complete slave to drugs and alcohol at this point, and I was battling a $300 to $400 a day pill habit, and to make that work, I had to do things to get by, and it caught up with me, and I ended up getting arrested in front of my mom, and it was the worst night of my life. Watching my mom's face, you really had no idea how involved in things I was. In total shock as I'm getting pulled out in handcuffs. It was horrifying. It was the lowest, absolute lowest point of my life, and even with that happening, I went to jail, and even though I didn't deserve it, she bailed me out the next day, and I don't think she realizes what a gift that was, because if I had stayed in jail, I probably would have eventually gotten sentenced to a lengthy jail term, and I wouldn't have worked on myself. I would have just been a drug addict sitting in jail, and I would have still been a drug addict when I got out of there. And when I got out, I made a decision. I didn't want to wait for my sentence and then detox on a jail cell floor. You know, that isn't where I wanted to be at 35 years old. So I made a decision. I went to Miramont. You know, and I took it seriously when I got there, and a counselor who I believe is here tonight, Elisa, she started pushing MVP on me, and I didn't want to do it. You know, I didn't want to, I wanted to do things my way. I wanted to get my job back. I wanted to, you know, get my life back together, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I realize now that if I had did that, I wouldn't have stood a chance. You know, so at some point I made a decision. I was like, you know what, at this point I got nothing left to lose. I just lost my career job. I got arrested. They took my car. You know, I had nothing. So I decided to look at it as an opportunity rather than, you know, my life being over. I took it as an opportunity. Like, if I'm going to do this, you know, I have no more excuses. I don't have a job to worry about. You know, I don't have these things. Like, this is an opportunity to work on myself. So I decided to go to MVP, and you know, it was the best decision I ever made. You know, it wasn't easy. I'm proud of the fact that I'm one of those 90 people that have graduated that program, because it's by no means easy. They don't make it easy on us, but life isn't easy. You know, they model it after life. You know, they throw things at you that are going to happen in life. We hold each other accountable in the community. Like, I've gotten so much back just from being there. Like, there's so many people in this room right now that I love to death, and you know, I got that through that community at MVP. And there was a time where I didn't love anything. You know, especially not myself. And, you know, about 5 months into MVP, I went to I was getting sentenced for being arrested. And, you know, I went there fully expecting to go to jail. I just wanted to work on myself for a little while until I got locked up or whatever. And, you know, my lawyer kept trying to get me sentenced to treatment court. I kept getting denied. I remember one phone call from Brian, like, came to me, saw I was doing well, and he stuck his neck out for me a little bit, made a phone call for me. Literally the next day, my lawyer called and said I got accepted to treatment court. And you know, I just remember being like, what the hell I hired you for, you know, Brian. But you know, like, that was a gift, man. I don't deserve to be standing here right now. And because of Brian and MVP, like, I was given another chance. And you know, I take that seriously. You know, it's a responsibility to try and get back to people and help other people. You know, be a positive role model to new guys that go into that community, because it really is like, you know, the people in that community are very genuine in the fact that, like, we all know what it's like, and it's just that pay it forward attitude. Like, you come in with nothing, somebody reaches their hand out to you, helps you out. When you get get it together, you reach your hand out to somebody else, and so on and so forth. And you know, because of that, and because of MVP, and you know, the biggest thing it did for me was it got me connected into AA. You know, I wouldn't have done those things, getting a sponsor, a home group, you know, making meetings. I know myself. I would have did it for a short time, and I would have fell back into my old ways. And you know, being forced to do them things, it's a daily part of my life now, and it really helps me stay sober and keep doing the things I've been doing. And because of that, you know, I've been blessed with, you know, the promises of recovery. You know, my life isn't perfect. I still deal with some wreckage in my past. You know, but I feel like every day that I wake up and I stay sober and I give it another chance, I at least have an opportunity to fix those things in my life. Whereas, you know, if I was still out there, all that stuff's out the window anyway. So I just wanted to thank everybody in this room, you know, especially Brian and everybody at MVP. And, you know, I'm just beyond grateful to have this opportunity to, you know, talk to you guys. So thanks for letting me share.